Good morning. Good morning, Trinity. Hi, Linda. Oh my gosh, it must be like the week for technical difficulties. Tammy and Linda, I feel your pain from yesterday. Oh my gosh, it took me like 4 tries to get on here this morning, and then I thought, well, maybe I should just not do it, but here we are. Today's like the 5th time's a charm, Christina, I'm telling you. All right, so thank you all for joining me. Good morning. I was so excited to watch Linda and Tammy yesterday do that sneak peek, which was so awesome, from the Occasions catalog. Mine is not here yet. Facebook Live is not at all, not playing nice. I had to turn the Wi-Fi off, I had to reboot the router, reset my phone. Lots of fun this morning, but anyway, we're here. I think it must be that super moon. The super moon, yeah, only 5, right? The super moon made it like everything exceptionally crazy, so I don't really even know what was going on today. But thank you all, as always, for joining. I'm so glad to see you guys today. Thank you for stopping in on a Tuesday instead of a Wednesday. I'm actually taking my son to the beach just for like an overnight trip, because my dad's going to be down there, and my brother, and we're going to go down there, so we'll be there tomorrow. So that's why I moved it to today. So thank you to everybody who was able to join today. I appreciate it. I will be back next Wednesday for the regularly scheduled program. But today what I wanted to share with you was this really fun card that I made using the Christmas Pine stamp set. And this is a stamp set that actually was in the holiday catalog last year, and it made it to the regular catalog this year, so we still have time for this one. But this is a fun stamp set, and I have made so many cards with this. I think this is really one of my favorite Christmas stamp sets, and it's really fun to use. It's very versatile, and a couple weeks ago when I did that little Q&A, someone had asked about this card, so I thought this will be a really fun one to make on a live. So this is the original version that I made. And you can see I even made a little whoopsie there, but I thought it was such a pretty card, I'm going to send it to somebody anyway. And this one I even did on the inside. Went a little bit extra far with that one. So just in case you're new here, my name is Rachel from Rachthestamper.com, and I make lots of messes, but sometimes I even make good cards occasionally. And I like to take everything with a dose of sarcasm and some wit, because I'm just crazy like that. So anyway, you can follow me here on Facebook at Rach the Stamper. You can also find me on Pinterest, Instagram, YouTube, and I think that's pretty much, and my blog, which is rachthestamper.com. You can get all these supplies and more in my online store at rachthestamper.stampinup.net. And if you haven't already, I do have a newsletter that I send out usually every other week, unless something earth-shattering happens in the stamping world. So if you send me your email address, I will add you to my newsletter list. So let me get started and show you how to do this card. This one is a little bit different, only because what I did for this one is I actually used the multiple levels of the pine cone. So I stamped it actually in the solid, and then I did both of these for both of these sets. And then I used both of the, I call them palms, because you know, you could also use this for Easter. So I thought this was a great Easter card from last year, when I was glad that I carried over from the Christmas catalog, because you could use this for Easter, like for the palm fronds, if you're making, and they have a beautiful new set that's in the Occasions catalog. I cannot remember what it's called, and I don't have it to show you, obviously, but it would go so well with this. Beautiful card. So if this isn't in your stamp collection, you should get it, because this is a great stamp set. So you can also use these though independently, because I myself personally am not a fan of 2-step or multi-step stamping, and I'll tell you why, because I never seem to get them lined up correctly. So what I usually try to do is I'll kind of do 1, and then I'll do maybe 2, but all that is going to change very soon. So in case you didn't hear the news, the second Stamperatus pre-order does begin today at 2 p.m. Mountain Time, which is 4 p.m. on the East Coast. So if you haven't already, if you go to rachthestamper.stampinup.net and you click shop all you have to do is you go to, there's a little link up at the top and it says create account. So you fill out all of your information, and then you have to choose a demonstrator, and I would love if you would choose me. My name is Rachel Rife, R-I-F, like in Frank E. And I am in Bel Air, Maryland. So then you pick your demonstrator, and then when the time period rolls around, you can go ahead and pre-order your Stamperatus. So the Stamperatus is going to make all two-step stamping so much easier. So much easier. Because, so I'm going to give you a total little disclaimer here. A couple of weeks ago, I was perusing some websites, as I always do for ideas and everything, and I kind of caved, and I bought one of those stamping tools that makes this really easy, because I kind of figured, what was Stampin' Up going to make one if there was already so many out there? And I kid you not, 3 days later, they came out with the Stamperatus. So if I would have known, I would never have gotten it. However, I will tell you that the Stamperatus is so cool in the amount of things you can do, and I'm going to tell you here why you can do that. And then when I get it, I will do this card again, and I know it's going to be past Christmas, but we can do it as like a winter birthday or a winter congratulations or anniversary card. You can make it anything you want, and I've seen a lot of these done with that. I'm going to show you why it is so much better, because there are multiple, so you can put multiple stamps onto the platform. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out the other stamp tool that I have, and I'm going to show you. So this is it, and this one basically opens, closes. So the Stamperatus has one on this side and one on the top. Not only that, this part here comes off. You can move it up and down, so you could stamp multiple different ways. The one up top, you can flip it around and move side to side, so you can make stripes. You can have so you could put 4 different stamps. And I'm going to just give you like a little quick show here. So let's say you were going to stamp this acorn, and you were going to stamp the flat part, but you also have that other level. So what you could do is you could put one on this side, you can put one on the back side, you can put your leaf up here, so that's out of the frame, up here, you can put a different one on the back side, and then all you have to do when you use it is unhinge it, flip it around, turn it, and everything is there. So it's going to be so much easier. I mean, like, I've been using this a little bit because I think to myself, I do like the idea of having this stamping tool, but I truly, and I am not one to be bragging on stuff just for the fact. I'm just not that kind of a person. So something really has to impress me for me to say, like, yes, you definitely should get it. This is going to make any two-step stamping, any, even, and this is not really necessarily a two-step stamp, what we're going to do with this today. It's really, we're going to just use this one stamp. So it's one image of each, but we're going to make it a two-step stamp. It's going to make it so much easier, not to mention your sentiments. Like, you can line your sentiments up perfectly. You're not going to have any like halos around your images anymore. If you have even like the slightest issue with a tremor, or you have arthritis, or your hand shakes, this thing is going to make all of your stamping so much easier. You have no idea. So I'm really excited, especially to be able to share it with my Stamp Club ladies when it comes out, because I know they're all going to probably be really impressed by the fact of it's going to make it, all your cards are going to look so much more professional. It's going to look like somebody came and made all these cards for you. Isn't that awesome? Okay, so enough about that. Let me show you how to make this card. And the reason I talked about it so much is because I did use a stamping positioner for this. However, you can do this without a stamping positioner now, or you can pre-order your Stamperatus, and then when it comes in, you'll be able to do this so easy. It's going to make it so easy. You're going to be putting out cards like a factory, I'm telling you. They're going to start calling you Hallmark. Okay, so to get started, what we're going to do is we're going to I made these like as a skinny card, so you don't have to do it like this. These are 3 1/4, I believe, by 5 and 5 1/4. So this is a 3 1/4 piece here, okay? So these are a little skinnier. This is a full-size card. We're going to go ahead and do a full-size card. But say, for example, you had like some scraps laying around. You can always make a card out of it. As long as it's going to be smaller than your standard envelope, you can still mail it. You just mail it in a regular envelope. So just a tip for you there in case you have little pieces. And these are actually cards that my downline and my club ladies are going to be getting. So I hope they're going to be super excited when they see them. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start today with some crumb cake. And just for the sake of making it simple, I'm going to cut it just at a standard card size. So we'll just cut this at 4 1/4. And then we were scoring this at 5 1/2. Okay, so you can absolutely do whatever you want on the inside of this. You can do it as a fancy inside, kind of like this one is. I mean, I even went as far as to do a little bit of heat embossing on this, which turned out really pretty, and then I did 2 layers, so this is a fun card. Or you can just do it really simple inside. But what we're going to do is, and I'm going to do my very best to show you this without putting my head in the camera, because I want to try to show you how to do it if you don't have a stamp positioning tool or you're waiting for your Stamperatus to come in. And again, the pre-order that opens today, the sooner that you order it, the sooner you will get it in line, if that makes sense. So basically, it's going to stay open from today through December 30th. They're going to take as many orders as they get, but after that, it won't be available until the next annual catalog, which doesn't start until June 1st of 2018. But if you order yours today versus if you waited until the 28th, the people that order them today will get them sooner than the people on the 28th. So I hope that makes sense and kind of translate the way that I'm trying to get it to. Okay, so we're going to use Soft Sky and Pool Party. And I apologize if I don't see your comments. I promise I always go back at the end and I will write whatever answer it is in there and try to get you all the information that you need. So we're going to go with Pool Party, and this is with the little, it's like snowflakes and the little dots. And I kind of, in the beginning, just did this on the top, and I kind of rotate it just so it's not really in the same pattern. But I thought it looked really pretty all over the card. So again, this is just really your preference of what you want it to be. If you overlap, no big deal. Be lots of snow. Okay, so that'll be good. And then what we're going to do, I'm just going to do this quickly just so I don't forget at the end. I'm going to sponge this with Soft Sky. So we're going to go all the way around the edge and sponge it. And again, you can switch out these colors, but I kind of think these kind of give that frosty, really cold snow feeling. So that's why I like to use Pool Party. Actually, I use them a lot together just in combination because I think they're very complementary, even though one is a little more green and one is a little bit more blue. All right, so just go a little bit more on the edge. I usually kind of do the corners a little darker just because I don't know, I think it looks nicer that way. Okay, so that was Soft Sky and Pool Party. Now what we're going to do is we're going to bring in our palm, or whatever it is we want to call this. I keep calling it a palm, so I'm sorry if I'm wrong. But here's where we're going to start. So we're going to start with Lemon Lime Twist, which I know you might not think is really like a Christmas color, but we're going to layer it a little bit. So if you had your stamping positioning tool, the way that I did this was I had the positioning tool. So let's just pretend this is our positioning tool here. And then you say, so what you do is you line your stamp up first. So you would actually take your stamp and you put it directly on your image. Oop, that's upside down. You put it directly on your image, just like that. That way you know exactly where it's going to go. And if you're like, I don't want it at the bottom, you can move it over to the top. So it makes it very simple. And then what you do is you close your door, and then your door will pick up your stamped image. Okay. So if you had this here and you had it all positioned, what I did to make it easier was I stamped one like this. And then I just took my card and flipped it upside down and stamped it like this. So it was just easy because you didn't have to move anything. And I made about 10 cards in probably 15 minutes. And this is a lot of stamping that I did. So I'm going to ink this up in Lemon Lime Twist. And we're going to just stamp this off. Okay, just on there. And then I'm going to do one more on the other side. And this one I kind of brought down a little bit more. Okay, so then, now this is where you have to be a little bit more careful if you're going to be doing this style, okay? Because you just want to line it up. So I took my Tranquil Tide marker, and I did this the same way if you have a stamping positioning thing, is all I did is I just added some kind of swirls to it. Doesn't have to be specific, kind of as much as you want, wherever you'd like it. And apologize if you see my head. And then I just went over this again. And I'm going to do this the best I can here. And just re-stamped it. Okay? And you don't have to use Tranquil Tide. So if this isn't your color combination that you like, you can certainly use something different. You can bring it to, you could just do it on like the tips. So many different possibilities with this, which makes it super cool. So all you have to do if you have your stamping positioner is just wipe them off and start over. If you don't like it, then make your next card differently. So there's that. We're going to just leave that as is, because when I added a little too much to it, it kind of lost its magic, in my opinion. But that's just me. So now we're going to take our two acorns, okay? So what I did was I started with these in crumb cake. That was the easiest. And then you kind of just have to decide, like, where do you want them? So do you want, like, I thought a little one hanging, like, really low was cute, and then one up higher. But, again, completely up to how you want to do it. So I'm going to just do it that way. So we'll do the little one kind of hanging a little bit lower. And remember, with photopolymer, you do have to give it a second for the ink to transfer. And then we'll put this one up top. Okay, so there's that. So now you're going to put your crumb cake away. And again, this just depends on how you want it to look, okay? It's your card. You can make it however you like. If you're afraid it's going to get too dark too fast, start with soft suede and chocolate chip. I kind of liked it darker, so I ended up going with chocolate chip and early espresso. But I'm going to take out the chocolate chip this time, and I'm going to do soft suede first and then early espresso. So again, if you have the stamp positioning tool, it makes this immensely easier because all you have to do is color your stamp and it's exactly where it is. This is just a little bit more precise because you want to try to make sure you line them up correctly. So what I did was I just took my marker and kind of went across the top and added in a little color. And then I kind of brought it on one side. It doesn't matter what side. I just kind of thought it made it have a little bit of a shadow. And then you're going to just line this up again. Pardon my head. Best you can. Just give it a second for the ink to transfer. And then look, it gives you like a shadow. Okay? We're going to do the same thing on this one. And I'm going to kind of try to stick with the same side. So I did a little bit at the top. And then, see, the beauty about having this with the stamp positioner is if you do it and it's not dark enough, you just like add a little ink, push it again. Add a little ink, push it again. It makes it so much simpler. Okay, so now I'm going to go back in again with the early espresso. I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to make it really dark at the top. And if you don't have the markers, you could certainly do this with your blender pen and your ink pad, or you could rub your ink pad on there. I don't really think it's going to matter. And I just did a little edge here. So top and a little edge. So this is going to be for the small one. And I think I did it on the opposite side, so probably... Yep, bear with me. But again, still looks cute. So you have your little white center because things, I think things in nature kind of have that white center anyway, when the light hits them the right direction. Not that I am an artiste, believe me. I'm probably far from it. I think I just do a really good job of faking it. Okay, so now we're going to add in the bigger one. And I did this one on the correct side. All right. So you have a lot of dimension there. What you can do is you can then take your early espresso if you want and kind of just make like a little nub, like as if it's connected to the tree. Just kind of did a little tiny thing. My marker's getting a little worn out on the end, so it's a little scruffier. But if you don't think that's dark enough, you can add more. So you can add more, and I'm just going to do this just for the sake so you can see what we're doing here. Just keep adding more ink. All it's going to do is just continue to layer more ink onto your image. And the great part about these photopolymers, you can see exactly what you're doing. So you can see exactly what it looks like. I'm going to put a little bit of shadowing around the other side on the small one. Ooh, I got a little crazy on that one. I pulled some of my paper up. Okay, so now what we're going to do now is we're going to add in our sentiment. And again, I did these a couple different ways. On one I did an embossed sentiment and a regular one. And then this one has an embossed sentiment. And then I didn't have my embossing stuff downstairs when I was working on a card. So I added this one in Dapper Denim, which I really think is still very pretty. And the other thing about this is the way you layer these. The funny part is, even though we stamped this over, because the lighter part, it looks like it's behind it. So it really, really gives you a lot of depth when you add these cards this way, or add the colors this way. And you can make them whatever you want. I mean, even on this one here, I added in a teeny bit of Island Indigo. And it kind of goes with it. You really don't know. It just looks like a different kind of shadow. So I think it really turned out pretty cool. All right, so the last part, what we're going to do is we're going to add in our sentiment. And we're going to do this with Versamark. Let me make sure I have this lined up here. So that is the awesome thing about the Stamperatus, is the positioning that you can do with your sentiment, and you don't get the halo or the ring or any of that stuff. Turns out super, super clean and crisp. I am going to hit this with my embossing buddy because some of this could very well be wet and I don't want this to stick to everything. So I'm just going to kind of lightly go over the whole thing. All right, and let me just make sure this is nice and inked. And I'm going to do this, I think, with the champagne embossing powder. So I'm going to put this kind of down here to the side. And if you don't have champagne embossing powder and you're wondering how you miss that in the catalog, you actually just mix silver and gold together. And what it does is it makes a beautiful champagne embossing powder that actually coordinates really, really well with the champagne foil that we have. Oh my goodness, look at that. I just lied. I did that in silver. Oh, good gracious. Well, there you go. She's really Facebook Live-ing. All right. Or silver. Oh, I tell you, sometimes that's what happens when you do stuff live. You just never know what's going to happen. So we're doing this in silver now. Again, one thing I will tell you, when you use your heat tool, let it really heat up before you hit your image that you're trying to emboss, because it's going to be quicker melting and less warping of your card. Okay, so I'm going to turn this on and just let it get hot before I actually hit my image. And you can do this from the top or the bottom, but I'm going to do it from the bottom so you guys can see it when it turns. And if you get it nice and hot, it should go within just like a few seconds. There we go. And if your stuff does get wrinkly, the other thing you can do is just kind of hit it all over. It'll flatten it out. And then just hit it from the back. Same thing. It'll kind of flatten it out. And if it's still a little wrinkly, use some fast fuse. Okay, so just to finish this card, what I'm going to do, and now I'm wondering, I think for some reason I don't think this is trimmed to 4 by 5 1/4. It looks a little big. Yep. So I'm going to trim just a smidge of this off. That's what happens. I thought I was getting ahead of myself by pre-trimming all of my cardstock. Come to find out I didn't pre-trim it to the correct measurement. Gotta love it. So let's see, if I cut that, I'm going to cut off some of the sentiment. So let me trim. I'm going to do like a little trimming from the top and a little trimming from the bottom, which means I'm just going to have to go back and just sponge just a little bit, but no biggie. Let me just grab my soft sky and I'm going to go around the edges again. So I just brought this back to 4 by 5 1/4. And as you can see, if I would have trimmed it up, I would have cut the bottom of that off. So when I went and I did kind of just like a little bit from the bottom. And then I moved the top to my 5 1/4 mark so I wouldn't undercut it or overcut it. All right. So the last thing that I did for this before I mounted it was I did some Wink of Stella. And someone here, I believe, a while back gave me a really good idea. If you're getting to the end of your Wink of Stella, you can take it off, and what you do is you turn your faucet on and you just open it just the teeny bit so the water's out, and you just, if you squeeze it and you hold it up to the water, it'll suck in a little water. Give it a good shake. And I found that this really, really helped to reignite the Wink of Stella. And then the other thing is, when you brush it now, you'll also blend your colors just a little bit together. And I did it on the pine cones because I thought it was super pretty. So it will kind of bring all those together. I didn't squeeze it much, I will tell you that. And you do want to make sure, this is very similar to a blender pen. So if you're going from a dark to a light, make sure you wipe off. Otherwise you'll end up with some brown stuff on your leaves and you won't really know how did it get there. But it does transfer ink. So it's also a great, if you don't have a blender pen, it is a great little addition to blend things. And then if you wanted to, so what I usually do when I do this with water is I'll kind of squeeze it off the paper. That way I don't end up with like a big glob of something where I don't want it. But you could kind of do just a little bit of shimmers all over. And then add a little bit to your, just to your leaves. Okay. So then what we're going to do is we're going to take our base card, which is Crumb Cake. And I am going to use Fast Fuse since I heat embossed it, just because I want it to stick really nicely to the card. If you have a lot of trouble with Fast Fuse, the one tool is, or one trick, make sure you just use a really light hand. So when you push on your snail, you're usually really rough. So just make sure very light. Like this is so light, it would drop out of my hand. That's how light it is. And if your little thing gets stuck, all you do is just move it up a little bit till you see the tacky, and then you can run it again. Okay? So we're going to put this one to the front, just like so. Just mind there's a couple little wet wink of Stella spots there. You could always add a little bit of a ribbon if you wanted to. Again, you could put something on the inside. So this would be really pretty if you finished it with a layer of, oops, don't mind that wink of Stella there, a layer of soft sky. And then you could put a white on top of it, which also would cover up that little yucky mark that I put right there. So really easy card, just dependent. And I mean, look at the way this one is compared to these. So all of your leaves can look different depending on how you want them to go. So I did, like I said, a whole bunch of these. Some of these I just haven't mounted that as of yet. But there's a whole bunch of different cards. Some of them I made on little skinny cards. So they're really tiny. Some of them I did with Dapper Denim. Some of them I did full-size cards. So there's lots of variations you can do on this. And again, remember when you're making a card for somebody, and like I said, what was this one here? It's got a little blue splotch on it. I can guarantee you the person getting this card isn't going to be worried about that splotch. They're going to say, oh my gosh, Rachel sent me a card. Or so-and-so, look at this really pretty card. They're not going to care, because you know what people get in the mail? Bills. And nobody likes bills. So anytime somebody sees something that has actual handwriting on it, first of all, they probably check to see if the handwriting is from a printer company and if it was printed or if you really wrote it. So if you send someone a card, don't worry if it has a little splotch on it. Or you could cover it up with like a little gem or something. Make a 3D, you can make another pine cone, trim it out and put it, and that would be like a 3D pine cone. People love cards. Trust me. Even my friends that don't really like cards, and they always tell me, you make such pretty cards. Thank you for this card. This is the nicest card I've got. People don't send mail anymore. So send some mail. Send somebody a Christmas card, especially somebody that maybe you haven't sent one to in a while, or somebody that you know probably doesn't get a lot of cards. Send them a card. You probably will really make their day. Anyway, thank you guys so very much for joining. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, again, all you have to do is shoot me an email at rachthestamper@gmail.com, and I will answer it as soon as I can. And I will be back again next Wednesday at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time with another card. I don't have an idea yet, so I'm taking suggestions. If anybody wants anything specific, I am kind of sticking more with Christmas because I don't want to let the Christmas spirit burn out. Even though I know now already probably some people are thinking about Valentine's Day, but I definitely want to stick with Christmas. So if anybody has any cards that they want to see made or stamp sets, you know, please feel free to shoot me an email. I'd love to hear from you guys. And if you haven't, you can send me your email address. I can add you to the newsletter list. And remember, the Stamperatus pre-order goes live today at 2 p.m. Mountain Time, which is 4 p.m. on the East Coast. And all you have to do is go to rachthestamper.stampinup.net, create your account, pick me as your demonstrator, and then you can pre-order once it goes live, so you can have some of that stuff taken care of ahead of time. So thank you guys for joining me. I will see you next week. And if you haven't already, make sure you click turn on. There's a little box here in the comments. That way when I go live, it will tell you that I'm on here. So thanks for joining, guys. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.